Back, everybody, with our final workshop of the day today, Thursday, here at the World of Wellness Wellness Week, the James Weiner Memorial Wellness Week. And to finish off the day today, we're starting a little bit early, but that's okay. We have Robert Young, PhD, ND from the West Coast. What part of the West Coast actually are you in, Doc?
I'm in the southern part of California and in a beautiful area that's east of northeast of San Diego called Valley Center.
That is, yes, that is a beautiful area.
Yeah, it was my
favorite part of California is San Diego.
Yeah, it was my dream to become a farmer, and I became a farmer. And with the drought and everything, it's very, very difficult to be a farmer in California. I know that from experience, and it's really a tragedy because there is farming, and there are farmers who want to farm other than just for yourself.
Right.
Most of our produce is not coming from Southern California any longer. It's coming from Mexico, and
yes, yeah.
You know, it's really sad because I had thousands of avocado trees and grapefruit trees.
Wow.
and we were trying to at our heart, but I looked at this as farming as a passion, something I wanted to do from my childhood. And it's I don't know, when you connect with the earth, and you connect with that which you're growing, and you eat what you grow, and you grow what you eat, it takes on a whole different dynamic. And you can control the water. You can control whether you use pesticides, insecticides, or herbicides. And I love that. And the people that came to the Rancho del Sol in Valley Center, they said, this food tastes different. And I said, well, that's because we control what goes into it. We control the water, and we have 6 wells on the property. So we literally needed, in order to sustain the ranch, over 100,000 gallons a week. We were using close to 500,000 gallons of water. And you can imagine at the cost of water in California, because most of the water in the rainfall is being pushed out to the ocean rather than collected. They're buying water from Utah and Colorado and Arizona, from Lake Powell. A lot of the water is diverted for Los Angeles there. And geez, it's a huge problem. Water, in general, but the quality of the water, and not just the quantity, but the quality of the water. And so it's difficult for a lot of families, to really, branch out and really take on that expense of being their own farmer and growing their own food. But I think those things are changing with hydroponics, and we were doing a lot of that at the ranch, hydroponics, drip system. But if you've got the right soil, and our soil was high sodium content, our water was high sodium content. You may be freaking out right now about high sodium content, but it made it made the water something that was not foreign to us. It's kind of like going into the ocean and bathing into salt water. It doesn't feel foreign. It feels very natural, and of course, your body absorbs a lot of that. It wants that sodium ion, and so that's what made our avocados taste. What made our avocado oil taste different. And we did cold pressed avocado seed oil, and we did cold pressed avocado oil. And anybody that's looked at avocados and avocado oils, I would have to say that it's the food of the gods. That's what I'd have to say that, because it has everything there that can sustain life. It's got oil,
Hmm.
it's got salt, it's got antioxidants. And one of those, of course, you probably already know, which is lutein.
Hmm.
Very, very powerful antioxidant. Yeah. But anyway, that's where I am. You mentioned California. Uh, I'm not sure where the Republic of California, where we're headed, and what direction we're headed. But all I sense is, it's at the end of this, there's a cliff, and so I know people are trying to do prevention as much as possible, and that's why Texas has awarded California the #1 realtor of Texas.
Yeah.
They've more
Well,
people have bought property from
in Texas.
California than anywhere else in Texas, I
Wow.
should say, from
Yeah.
California,
Yeah.
purchased
From
property in
California,
Texas.
right?
You
Right.
know, and Texas is a great state. I'm not drawn to it. I would love to stay in California, like a lot of other people, but it needs a lot of help. It needs a lot of love. It needs an intervention from from a good source.
How
And
about I love my favorite saying is this town needs an enema. Maybe this state needs an enema.
no, Congress needs an enema, and not an
Yes.
enema,
Yes,
not a
exactly.
not a, not not an enema. They need a full-blown colon hydrotherapy, and they need to be infused with about 6 to 8 liters of fluid, just to hydrate them, and to
Yeah. Oh
alkalize
yeah.
their body fluids. But no, that would, if I was president of the United States, that would be the first directive that I would give, is that those in the government, we're not going to mandate vaccines. We're going to mandate internal cleanliness through
Yeah.
colon hydrotherapy.
Yeah.
So, and I wouldn't, here again, I wouldn't mandate anything. I would just give people the choice,
Right. Right.
to do something like this. I mean, I'm a lover of free agency. I'm a lover of
Yeah.
free choice. I'm a lover of people being able to decide their course. I may not agree with it,
Right. Right.
but
But
I would fight for them to be able to choose.
exactly. Dr. Weiner, from the originator of this Weiner Wellness Center, was probably one of the single most outspoken proponents of medical freedom I had ever met, and he'd been doing it for 35 years. He's been on he was on the radio way before any of the current gurus on there now, just screaming from the rooftop about medical freedom, the ability to choose, nothing forced. Kids shouldn't be forced all these 72 shots of 36 different vaccines over the course of 18 years. That's just an infirmary to me. I don't know how they get away with that. But a couple of questions for you right off the bat. And this is just from what your intro was. Are you a commercial farmer? So you do it on a commercial basis?
Well, I mean, if you call this losing, hundreds of thousands of dollars commercial, I mean, people don't really
No,
understand.
I mean, I like that you are. I love that you are. I did not know that you were.
No, I mean, I think in categories of, if someone wanted to label me, and I have all kinds of different labels, but I would want to be known first as a father, a grandfather, and then a farmer, and then a scientist. So I mean, family first. So
Right.
it's
Right.
yeah, so that's my priorities. Well, it's God first, family, and science, and I've been truly blessed. But in California, they passed a law. It's SB 577, which allows you to practice medicine without a license.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
there's approximately 8 to 10 states. Idaho is one of those states. Uh, I think Michigan is. I don't know all of them. I just know Texas isn't. Florida isn't. New York, of course, isn't.
No.
So there's about 8 to 10 that actually pass laws, and what that means is, and this is from the people. The people didn't want to restrict those who were providing services that were not necessarily well, they weren't invasive, like colon
Right.
hydrotherapy. So, like nebulization, like recommending not legend drugs but herbals, or some
Right.
sort of synergistic combination of vitamins and minerals and herbs and cell salts and what have you.
Right.
So the law reads that you can even diagnose and you can treat, but if you treat using invasive measures, okay, or use pharmacopea, pharmaceuticals, then diagnosing and then treating is practicing medicine without a license. But if
Okay.
if someone comes to you with a diagnosis, or you're looking at their particular symptoms, and then you recommend a support like lifestyle, like diet, like nutrition, like, let's say, infrared sauna or colon hydrotherapy, et cetera, that is not practicing medicine. But guess what? The district attorneys are really confused about that because they don't care if it looks
Mhm.
like medicine, because they have no education or understanding. All they're told and directed, this person is practicing medicine without a license, even though he's not. And you're coming right to the edge of the law. We need to take this person down because he's disrupting the flow of big pharma. And he's
Right.
putting questions in the minds of our citizens here that there's a cure for cancer. We can't have that. We can't have people going off their medications. So
No, I know.
so this is the problem. Even when there's laws on the books, they're actually ignored or just what's the word, poo-pooed, like, oh yeah, that really doesn't matter,
Right. Right.
so it has to be invasive. And so that
Okay.
I've dealt with that quite a bit. In Utah, they don't have those laws, so it's up a matter of interpretation and how they
I
want
see.
to describe medicine. But here again, practicing medicine is exactly what I don't want to do.
Right. Because they're not MDs, they're DMs for the most part, disease managers.
Yeah. I like that. That's good. Yeah. Well, I think the thing that's really illogical is treating disease with disease for disease. In other words, taking something mutilated or toxic and using that to poison the body to provide some phantom immunity. All you end up
Right.
doing is creating a transhuman or a human immuno-wimpo, one that has been severely damaged by the treatment, of which then what is blamed is this so-called illusionary, theoretical, non-existent virus that's causing the condition. And of course, their justification is, look at the antibodies that have come up. Look at this. Look at the reaction to the immune system. You've strengthened it. No, you just showed that if you poison the body, it will do the best it can to save it. But you've provided no immunity whatsoever. All you've done is done an example of poisoning and watching the patient suffer, or maybe even injuring that patient, or even killing that patient, for what? For money.
For
That's
money.
for money. It
So my
doesn't.
question was going to be to you, well, I mean, this viewpoint that we share about that, and why is it not more widespread nationally, internationally? And the answer is what we just said. The cartels follow the money.
Yeah, and that's why, the germ theory is so popular, and the terrain theory, which is more logical.
Mm-hmm.
The disease is born innocent from us, that there are contributing factors to compromise that internal environment. But our internal environment, which is the body tries to control, can be compromised, and if that's the case, then we see symptomologies that are called diseases, but they're not diseases at all. So many people have heard me say that there are no specific diseases; there are only specific symptomologies.
Hmm.
So if you're calling diabetes or cancer or MS or whatever by its nomenclature, you by its name, that doesn't describe the pathology, nor does all it does is set the stage for the treatment of a symptom, which is incurable unless you deal with the underlying cause.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody asked me a question, and the question was, what is a pH miracle? Because I wrote a book called The pH Miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wrote another book called The pH Miracle for Diabetes. And I wrote another book called The pH Miracle for Weight Loss. And then I wrote another book called The pH Miracle Revised and Updated, which is like volume 2 of the first book. And then I wrote another book called pH Miracle for Cancer. And somebody said, well, why did you do that? And I said, because people are so brainwashed about the symptomology, I had to capture their interest. Oh, maybe this is the book that will educate me on weight loss, on diabetes, on cancer, et cetera, et cetera. And what it really tells you, like for weight loss, is obesity is not a weight problem. And someone might be thinking, well, wait a minute, I have extra weight. I mean, it sure feels like it's a weight problem. If I'm over fat. No, 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 no. You're not over fat. You're over acid. You see, if the body can't remove, or you're over toxic, if the body can't remove its own waste products, one of the ways it protects itself is to pack on the pounds, okay, to actually literally park the excess waste or acidic waste that you're not eliminating through the 5 channels of elimination for women, 4 channels of elimination for men. So
Mm-hmm.
obesity is not a disease. It's a
Right.
symptom of what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, what you feel, and you believe. It's a lifestyle, and that's true
Right.
with
I like.
cancers.
Yeah. I like what you said. That it's impossible to cure a disease without addressing the cause, especially the ones that are idiopathic in nature. Right. They're idiopathic. When you ask a doctor, "What's the cause? Where did this come from?" and he says, "I don't know."
Well, no,
And
the
yet, then
doctor is
but I'm
the
going to give
idiot.
you this drug for it.
No, the doctor's the idiot. He's the one that's idiopathic. Idiopathic means there's no pathology. There's a pathology for everything. It's just an excuse to sell more drugs without taking personal responsibility. So,
Mm-hmm.
someone goes to the doctor because they don't want to take personal responsibility for their lifestyle choices and the consequences that are being expressed in the form of dis-ease, inflammation, induration, ulceration, and degeneration. No, poor little me, you know, looking in the mirror, why is this happening to me? Well, look what you ate, look what you drank, look at check what's going inside your head, and take personal responsibility, own your symptoms because you are the cause of them, and quit blaming other people. Now that seems a little hardcore and a little judgmental, and I apologize for that because I don't mean to be
No need.
judgmental. All I'm trying to do is wake you up from this woke condition that you think you're in,
Yeah.
that you are the cause of your disease. And you don't get cancer, you do cancer. And you don't get diabetes, you do diabetes. And you don't get the symptoms of corona, you do it. And if you want to buy in to the biggest lie that's been perpetuated on the human race and be one of the statistics of which are not being kept very well, then buy into it, because the end result of this is not a beautiful picture. It is not a pretty picture at all. And if you can protect yourself by literally considering, okay, that you are responsible for your body and you need to take responsibility for the choices you make, because you will be experiencing the consequences of your choices. Well, what about air pollution? It's the third leading cause of death in the world. I mean, would I move to Wuhan, China, and eat bat and what other concoctions? No, I don't eat the flesh or the blood or the interstitial fluids of other animals. But you have to decide whether you want to take on those particular genetics, those particular fluids into your body. And make no mistake, when you eat meat, you're also drinking the fluids of that meat, which are the interstitial fluids and all the waste. And you are also drinking the animal's blood. Now, to make it so it tastes halfway decent, you have to literally pulverize it with seasoning, because if you ate it raw, you probably wouldn't eat it. Or if I blended a steak for you, a raw steak, you wouldn't even drink it unseasoned, because you'd be drinking the blood of an animal. And one thing people don't understand is muscle is made from blood. So I'm speaking literally. When you eat chicken, you're eating chicken blood, because chicken legs and breasts are made from blood, and blood is made from what chickens eat. And I wouldn't touch it unless I haven't. The last time I had a piece of chicken was in London, England in 1970. And when I started picking out the feathers in the flesh from what was under that special coating, I said, that's it. It grossed me out so bad that I said, I'm never eating another piece of somebody else's body. Okay, I'm done with it. I'm over it. And I stopped, and I was healthier for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. So maybe I'm
Well,
on a soapbox
no,
here, but
that's okay. But I do tend to season my vegetables too, though, Doc.
well, here again, if you tried our avocados, you wouldn't have to season them. You just open the thing up, and I mean, that's a deficiency in the soil. That's a
Yeah.
deficiency in the quality of the water. But yes, you have to season it, because most people are sick and they need more salt, because they need that conductivity that salt
Yeah.
provides as a connection and a transport matrix to support
Right.
the transport of electrons throughout the whole body system. So salt,
Good
not
salt.
sugar, salt. That's the antithesis. Sugar is a waste product of metabolism. Salt is a deliverer of alkalinity and a deliverer of electrical energy, and provides the context or the matrix by which energy can be transported to the cells. We are electrical beings, but we give off chemical waste.
Uh-huh.
We are
Okay.
electrical beings. We run on electricity.
Right.
How do you know that? Well, if you want to see how you conduct electricity, put your finger in something that has a higher voltage, and then you'll feel that electricity run throughout your entire body. But that's how you become energized. So I would always still do, carry a concentration of 30% concentrate of North Shore Great Salt Lake saline solution that's been skimmed off at the top if it's been literally colloiding itself, where the larger particulates fall to the bottom and you just take the cream off the top. It is pure. It contains every element that's known to man and those which are unknown. But it's the highest concentration of saline. So when you go to the hospital, you get a 0.9 or 1%. 1%. This is 30%. It's shockingly salty. But if a diabetic is passing out, you don't give them sugar. You spray salt in their mouth and they come back in 30 seconds.
Now that I've never heard before. That is incredible.
Well, there's a couple of things I could probably say that most people haven't heard, you know?
Well, let's do it. Come on. I'm ready. Come on. Give it to us.
Well, besides the salt thing, as far as using that, it's probably one of the most important things. I mean, if you look at, for example, most people don't realize, but the largest body of the water is the interstitial fluid. And you're going to see more and more apparatuses or biosensors that will be able to read your physiology without having to go to the doctor and draw blood. So these instruments will be able to read, blood counts, read blood chemistries, and be able to differentiate that from vascular fluids, from intracellular fluids, and also interstitial. But that's the nature of my research. And that's the technology that I've been using for over a decade, because I test 100% of all the body fluids. When I say that, not for diagnostic purposes, but for research purposes to see what food is working and what food's not. And in that, you can test the pH. So you can get an instant reading on pH of all body fluids, and you'll find that they're different. For example, blood pH is at 7.365, ideally. If it drops to 7.1, you go into a coma. Anything less than that, you're dead. So we're talking about a movement of approximately 0.263. So it doesn't take much poison to literally alter that chemistry. So what happens, the body violently tries to protect it. So there is a flood of alkalinity. Well, where's that flood coming from? What organ is producing the alkalinity that's necessary to take or to neutralize, let's say, the venom from a snake bite? Where's it going to come from? Or let's say for a woman who's pregnant, who's producing more metabolic waste, what organ in the human body is producing the antidote to the increased acidosis through the marathon runner, okay, who needs extra alkalinity to neutralize the lactic acid that's being produced from this event that is going on? The body needs this organ. It is the organ of first defense and of all immunity. It is what works every second, every minute, every week, every month of your life, and it's constantly being abused by what you eat, what you drink, and what you breathe. So I'm not going to put you on the spot.
The liver.
No.
Okay.
Okay, try again.
The stomach.
That's it. The stomach is an organ of alkalinity. The stomach does the heavy lifting. It's not the white blood cells. In fact, the red blood cells do more than the white blood cells as far as immunity. Red blood cells use their hemoglobin. That's why when you're receiving chemotherapy, what happens? The red count goes down. Why?
Yes.
I can show you pictures what happens to. They literally absorb that poison, crystallize, and blow up. Literally. And so this is why blood counts go down. It's trying to save you from
oxygen,
the actual
right?
treatment.
Red blood cells deliver oxygen.
The main purpose of the red blood cell, which a lot of people don't know, that the stomach doesn't digest food, that the stomach produces sodium bicarbonate, and the waste product of that is hydrochloric acid. The stomach does not produce hydrochloric acid, folks. The stomach produces sodium bicarbonate in a biochemical equation that is completely balanced by taking water, salt, and carbon dioxide to produce sodium bicarbonate. But the byproduct of that equation is a waste product of hydrochloric acid, which falls in the crypts of the gastric pits of the stomach, which never even touches your food. The stomach doesn't digest food, so that's number one. Number two, what's its main purpose? Is to manage and maintain the alkaline design of the body fluids. This is what causes, this is what's idiopathic, because the idiots don't understand that the stomach doesn't digest food, and taking enzymes and probiotics just further complicates the problem, stresses out the body's need for more alkalinity, while it's dealing with these acidic supplements or nutraceuticals or pharmaceuticals that are laced with hydrochloric acid. The body doesn't need more hydrochloric acid. The body doesn't need more vinegar. The body doesn't need more alcohol and acetaldehyde. These are the things that cause disease. This is what causes an upset stomach. It's the body's lack of sodium bicarbonate, not the lack of hydrochloric acid. We have this so back-assed that we have to rewrite the entire medical book. Not only in its description as it relates to its physiology and functionality, but even in many cases, the anatomy, when we're discovering new organs, that are doing this, such as the alkaline buffering system, such as the colloidal connective tissue of the shad, now called by the Americans the interstitium organ, which contains the interstitial fluid. And so this is what we're up against. We're up against people that want to keep the status quo, keep the people dumbed down and stupid, so they can sell them their disease products and sell them on a stupid ideology that you can treat disease with disease. So take a little poison that will provide some antidote or immunity to recognize that particular so-called virus, which, by the way, has never been isolated, never been purified and isolated. So this whole scam has been going on for 100 years, and we all know who started it, and we all know who's been perpetuating it.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's worldwide. So we have this worldwide pandemic going on, and oh my heavens, the entirety of humanity bought into this. I mean, it's
that baffles me more than anything. that it happened on a global scale in such a short time.
Yeah, well, it's not over. It's just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate, I don't want to say that, but it's there's many scientists around the world that agree with that particular statement. I'm not trying to induce fear. I want to induce faith. I don't want you to die it. I want you to live it. I want you to understand that your body can live forever if you take care of the internal environment. This is not a germ problem. This is an environmental problem. Look at me as Greenpeace for the internal environment of the body. I am not a doctor. I'm an environmentalist with emphasis on the envio, and then bringing your attention to this mental retardation that's going on in the school of medicine throughout the world. But I can have a better discussion with a marine biologist than I can with a medical doctor, because when I start talking to a medical doctor, they don't know what in the hell I'm talking about.
No, never been taught that. They only know what they've been taught.
But in all due respect, they are my brothers and my sisters. They are human. They most of them, if not all of them, have are doing the best based upon their experience. But what is happening right now is criminal, because those who have a heart and they're seeing what's going on and want to stop it are fired and lose their jobs. And even worse, they lose their licenses.
Yeah, we're up against it. This is, I've said many times, I think we're in a real life Star Wars here. The Empire versus the Resistance. We need a bigger resistance right now.
Yeah.
So before we go any further, how much time do you have, Doc?
Well, I think we've been talking for a little over a half hour. I mean, I
Mhm.
know the time is limited, but we could go another 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, good. Let's get into this. Let's get into this 5G thing. You know, I've followed it for a while. I follow Bobby Kennedy Jr. and his crusade, and he won that lawsuit against this. I believe it was 2019. He won the lawsuit. He filed the case in 2020. Won it this year. Children's Health Defense Network on the radio frequency admissions. We know it's bad. We know it's everywhere. It's hard to get away from it. I've seen graphs that show that of all the frequencies, the one that depletes oxygen the most is 5G. Oxygen is the key to life. And if that's what's happening, we're being systematically exterminated.
Well, 5G is a representation of the generations of different pulsating frequencies currently have not been released. They just barely finished the grid in space, and also or finishing it up, and also here on Earth. And they've had some glitches, and that's why they've put up over 20,000 satellites this year alone. And it's not just the U.S. putting up satellites, and these are satellites that have the capacity to beam down from space a pulsating frequency of various strengths. So it's like turning up the volume up and down. What we're experiencing right now is running between 2 gigahertz, and generally it'll fluctuate up to 5 or 6 or even up to 8. But when 5G is fully operational, it'll be able to go up to 100 gigahertz. Now, the problem with that, and that's why we talk about the fourth wave, now that the grid is set up and the cell transmissions, receivers and transmitters have to be set out anywhere around 200 to 500 feet. They don't go through walls very well, so the satellites, have to also contribute to cut out what are called dead zones. So there's no dead area at all. In other words, there's no place to hide unless you have a bunker that's lead lined. I think Home Depot is selling paint that will shield electromagnetic frequencies, and you picture your house, with this to actually, but you lose Wi-Fi if you do this.
Right.
But that's good.
Yeah.
Because
you could do it at least in one room, have a safe room.
Yeah, so you'll have to look into that and see what that is. But just like if you live in Nebraska or Oklahoma, or maybe Texas, but mainly in those Midwest where they have these tornadoes come through, they have their shelters that they have to go into, and this is probably what we're going to have to end up doing with 5G. But 5G can emit a pulsating frequency that can go, up to 100 gigahertz. And the problem with that is it can be focused at an individual, or it could be focused at a whole city.
Isn't a microwave 100G?
No, microwaves are different frequencies.
Okay.
For
I thought they were
example, the
100.
microwave oven you're using is the
I
same
don't use one.
Okay, well, you have a cell phone, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I guess you are using one because it operates at the same frequency as your microwave oven at 2.4 gigahertz. That's why it fries people's brains. I mean, I could show you pictures of before I put my cell phone up here after a 2 or 3 minute call, and then after using thermography, which is
Well, I always use a
thermal
wired headset.
imaging.
Yeah.
What's that?
I always use a wired headset, not a Bluetooth.
Yeah,
I don't put it up to my head. Yeah.
yeah. We've got scans of people that either put it up to their head, or women had the tendency to put their cell phone in their bra,
Yeah.
and the tumor's the shape of the cell phone.
Oh my God. Do these protection devices they sell for the phones and everything, do they provide any protection in absorbing 5G that's coming out of the phones?
Well, as far as the magnetic field, that is such a force. To absorb that would be something spectacular. You really can't unless you're in a box, and you can put your cell phone in a lead line box. I mean, but you don't get any more calls, and that's a good idea. You have to put yourself in a box. But here again, not only just being hit with that frequency, but literally taking the hit, the force behind that frequency. And what happens is at 41.3 gigahertz, that resonates with your body frequency. It forms a quantum link, and it's game over. So when you see birds dropping, people dropping, like what happened in Wuhan, because that's where they carried out this experiment, inoculate them with graphene oxide as the biosensor that can receive and transmit these frequencies, these waves, and the human now becomes a cell tower through the inoculation. And the material they're using is a graphene with iron. So it's iron oxide with graphene oxide. And this combined and using spectroscopy, and using optical microscopy, using electron and scanning electron microscopy, testing, the electron signatures. What do you find in these particular vials? V-I-L-E. No, they're vials. V-I-A-L, but I call them vial. V-I-L-E. What's in the vial that is being inoculated? Well, you don't know, other than what the ingredients they want to tell you. But if you open up the sheet, it's blank. The contents of this. So many scientists around the world, including myself, have had the opportunity to see this, to test this, to quantify it, and realize that this is not an inoculation. This is the infusion of, heavy metals that, in the case of graphene oxide, is one atom thickness, and it can actually flex and turn. I mean, I know this because I played with a graphite tennis racket in the 70s. So graphene's been around for a long, long time. But you take graphene, iron, okay, and you form this oxide, this very strong, durable, that can act as a biosensor to receive transmissions and to deliver. If that's in your brain, and you start hearing voices, or someone says, "Whoa, you sure have a magnetic personality." These materials are not only cytotoxic, genotoxic, but they're also magnetotoxic. And unfortunately, you have to have the boosters. These boosters will come every 6 to 12 months. This is a never-ending story. It's the perfect storm for a company, for the pharmaceuticals, because the cash just flows. It's a redistribution of wealth from the masses to the few that own these companies. And so that's what's happening. You should see the lights go on when they have this big smile. They share between themselves and others, how much money they've made this year. It's very sick. So the inoculation is setting you up as a transhuman to be able to receive and transmit information, and really basically control not only your physicality, but to control your emotions, your mentality, and also disconnect you from your spirituality.
So what we're seeing then with this inoculation is the Manchurian Candidate on a global scale.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But few humans will survive it. So we're expendable. We're expendable. We're just useless eaters, all of us. And what's the need for anybody that's elderly? I mean, what can they contribute? They just sit around and watch TV and eat and collect Social Security. I know I'm 70 years old. I'm retired.
You look great, Doc.
Well, thank you. Well, I gave up chicken. I stopped eating eggs. One of the most toxic foods on the planet. Why would anybody eat the period of a chicken? I have no idea.
I never heard it put quite like that. But
well, look, I can talk the science and I can talk a little trash at the same time, because I want you to have, when you're eating that egg, why not the rooster sperm? Why don't you cook up some sperm and an egg and have a feast? Rooster sperm and chicken egg. Tasty, savory. Now there is this law that if you are what you eat, and when you take on the genetic markers or the genetic fragments of animals, you take on their intelligence. You take on their experiences. So if you're eating birds, and you find yourself in your dreams flying around, maybe that's the reason.
So what's the chance of us getting some of those avocados of yours?
Well, that's now I want to cry. I've apologized. I've asked for forgiveness, and I said, I'm sorry. I can no longer afford to water you. I did this for 18, 20 years. And others, I mean, I take responsibility, but others have made it impossible for me to have the resources to be able to care for you. And so we lost our avocados. We lost our grapefruits.
The whole crop.
Yeah, the whole mountain. Thousands, tens of thousands.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's very, very sad, because when you live amongst the trees, you feel a source of life, as if you, and I imagine this, are living in the Garden of Eden. And that's what I felt. I felt like, what a gift God has given me to be able to live around so many beautiful living things that are so biogenetic that they're giving their life to my life and they're sharing their fruit with me. And they only asked to be watered and to be cared for. We had over 15 workers every day coming in to do that. And the day that I had to let everybody go was a sad, sad day. A sad, sad day. And yeah, there are some that have survived. There's still some of those avocado trees. They're just courageously surviving. You know, they love the sun, but they drink lots of water. You know, these avocados. And so we have a few trees, but we're not in the commercial aspects of growing avocados. But I can tell you that it's one of the best foods. And if you know your farmer, which you should, and the source of where your food's coming from, you know, you should be eating at least one of those a day. You know, and you could use more if you need additional help. You're not, and that'll do more for you than anything else that you would do. Yeah.
So, what's your feeling about some vegetables and fruits that do not need to be organic because of whatever reason, like an avocado because of the thick skin? What's your feeling on that?
Oh well, you know, I mean, they drink the water, and whatever's in that water is carried into the fruit. So it's you know, is there enough of the antioxidants? I mean, we have antioxidants, cellular antioxidants like glutathione is one of the major ones. One of the best sources of the antioxidants that protect the avocado is glutathione, and that's the source. So if you want more glutathione naturally, you eat more avocados. It's not just it's not just the lutein, but it's the glutathione. It's an abundant source. Yeah, and so you know, as far as the oil, it's monounsaturated. There's a little bit of poly, but most of it, of course, is mono in the form of mono, just one unsaturation. But it's not as flexible as the poly, but it sure seems to work really, really good.
What's the difference between, I mean, the avocado oil and avocado seed oil?
Well, the seed has everything in it to regrow another tree. The flesh of that is not. That's not the case. So, so the avocado seed oil, which is very rare, probably the only farmer who actually is selling and still sell. Well, I mean that has to be qualified, but the avocado seed oil. So yes, you're not going to be able to get that at your local store.
Right. I have never seen it. No.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is a company that is making this, and they're combining it with Korean red pine needle oil as an antidote to heavy metal poisoning.
Interesting.
Whether it be from air pollution, chemtrails, or inoculation.
Good stuff. Okay, Doc, that was fun. Any parting words?
Moses did part the sea. Miracles can happen. And to define miracles as a scientist, a pH miracle is the understanding between the cause and effect relationships. Current medicine deals with effects. They treat effects. They have no cures for anything, but they have lots of drugs to sell. Okay?
Right.
If you want to deal with any dis-ease, whether it's inflammatory or degenerative, you have to understand the contributing factors. 95% of those come from what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, what you feel, and what you believe. 95. Genetics is 5% of that. But genetics does not determine your destiny. What determines what your destiny of that 5% and how it is expressed is what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, what you feel, and believe, which means that you're in control of the quality and the quantity of your life. So if you want to learn more about this, read chapter 5 and chapter 11 of the pH Miracle Revised and Updated book. Okay? And all of those resources that come from that go to others to help them. I personally do not receive any remuneration from any book sales.
Where can we get that book, Doc?
I would go to phmiracleproducts.com, especially if you've got concern about these big box companies. But, you know, I have directed people to go to Barnes & Noble, either the bookstore to buy it, or you can buy it, you know, online.
Is it available as an ebook?
But I've written 70 books, and I've published over 3,000 articles. So with that, you know, you know, I guess I've been bored or something, needed something to do. But unfortunately, current medical savants do not understand the cause and effect relationship, and that's why we have no cures of disease. All we have is medication for the rest of your life. But look at the quarterly reports and the profits of the pharmaceuticals. We brought them from the dust of destruction with their new invention of the coronavirus, which actually, corona in Latin means poison. Means radiation. And virus in Latin means poison. So if you put them together, the bad actors and Luciferians have actually revealed themselves radiation poisoning. So with that, all the best. Talk to you soon. God bless you. God bless our children. And now is the time for us to make decisions that affect us and to take back control of our bodies and our lives and the freedom to choose. And choosing what's going to happen to our genetics, what's going to happen to our cells, determining, you know, our internal environment and how we're going to protect ourselves from this onslaught of toxicity that we're exposed to. Change your internal environment, change your external environment, stop treating diseases, start taking care of it. It's simple. Test your urine. Test your urine. Keep your urine pH at 8.4. If it drops below, take something that will raise that up. Alkalizing compounds of sodium, potassium bicarbonate. This is natural. The body does it. If your pH is in the 6s and 5s, you're at risk of serious health challenge.
That's interesting, Doc. I had heard that urine and saliva pH should be in the 6.4 range. That's wrong?
Yeah, if you want to die early.
No, I don't.
Okay.
8.4.
8.4.
Okay. All right, good stuff.
So
thank you, Doc.
God bless you all.
Thanks, Doc.
God save us from
our
lack of knowledge. As Moses or Hosea said, my people perish because of ignorance. Please don't die from ignorance. Put on your common sense. Yeah. The disease is lack of common sense.
Yes.
The treatment for all this is education, not medication. Yep. It's education, not vaccination. And the virus is the media.
On that, we'll sign off. Dr. Robert O. Young, everybody. Always, always informative and entertaining. Thanks, Doc.
All right. Take care. God bless you.
My friend.
Yes.
Live long.
How do you do that? Live long.
There you go.
There you go. I needed work on that one. All the best. Take care.
Bye-bye. Well, folks, that does it for the Thursday edition. A rousing finish with Dr. Robert O. Young, as we knew it would be. Some great information there. Go back and watch that one several times because you're going to need to. Just way too much information for one viewing. I do recommend you go to the website to get his book, phmiracleproducts.com. I don't know if they're available as ebooks or not, but they're certainly probably available as hard copy. Then as Dr. Young said, he's written 70 books. Wow. I don't know if they're all on that website, but get on there and get educated, right? Educate yourself. Don't medicate yourself. Education over medication. Wow. He had some great one-liners, didn't he? So that'll do it for today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. with the welcome kickoff, and then 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and 12. The home team will be here. Mike Gallagher, Dr. Gideon Orbach, myself, and we'll be taking care of business from the home team. All of them will be live. So we'll see you then. See you tomorrow.